Hey guys, welcome back to Desert Shield Sniper, and today my Griffey Auto finally came in the mail. This is the All-Star card. Super hyped about this card because this completes my All-Star run for this set. I don't have the base, obviously, but I also don't have the base Griffey card without the auto, so I'll be chasing for that. At least a 9, hopefully a 10, but super happy to add this to my collection. Let's have a closer look at the card. The card looks pretty good. Centering is what really appeals to me, but the corners are a tad bit soft. Not perfect, but acceptable, at least for Nate. And I like the positioning of the autograph. More on that later. The shield looks good, and the back centering a tad bit off, but by all means, I think that overall this card is a pretty good looking card. So super happy to add this to my collection. Now, the other thing is it's great timing because today I want to talk about rating autos. And what I mean by rating autos is how I choose autographed cards for my collection. And obviously, this is just my opinion, something that I just want to share with everyone. So the first question that I usually hear is like, should I get a raw autograph card or a graded autograph card? When I mean graded, it can be either authenticated or there's actually an auto grade. Now, I definitely say go with a graded autograph card. Okay, the cards in this set is difficult enough to spot a good fake. Okay, so unless you have a lot of experience dealing with Desert Shield cards, I definitely think that to buy it from a one of the third party graders is a lot safer. Now that's not to say that graded or authenticated cards can't be fake. Okay, and I'll raise out some examples. So, but in my experience, buying raw cards haven't been that great. I mean, I bought fake cards before, auto pen autographs before, and I just don't want to deal with that. So, first of all, I would definitely go with PSA over the other companies. And first of all, it's a personal preference. I do find that the demand for PSA cards is a lot greater. And thirdly, it's just that because of the fact that there's definitely a lot more PSA Desert Shield cards that they deal with these cards a lot more than the other companies. And so I think that when you deal with Desert cards a lot more, you'll have more experience spotting the fakes, and same goes with the autographs. So, how it's graded is kind of important, and what I want to go through. Okay, if you've ever sent a card in to be graded, there's a lot of options, right? So, especially in an autograph. Okay, so are you authenticating the card? Are you grading the card? Are you authenticating the autograph, or are you grading the autograph? Basically, these are the four areas that you need to take note of. If the card's not authenticated, it will only say trading card. Okay, and that is the kind of slab that I try to stay away from, especially if it's a high dollar card, because I don't see any reason why someone would want to just authenticate the auto if they have a legitimate, authentic Desert Shield card. At least authenticate it if you're not going to grade it, right? So, but I can see why, and I can accept certain cards that have this type of authentication or grading because I do have a couple actually where the autograph was authenticated, and these are like really low dollar base commons. And I think like in that case, a lot of the resellers they just want to put more value into the card by minimizing their costs, and obviously by not grading or authenticating a card and just authenticating the auto, that's probably the most inexpensive way to get that card and autograph authenticated in the slab. Now, my preference is to have the card and autograph graded. Okay, so it's very common for most of the higher end cards to be in this status because, first of all, I think the potential buyer wants to know what's the condition of the card. And unless that is graded, it's really hard to tell, especially if it's like an online sale. And so knowing that, for example, with these two cards, that it's at least a PSA 8, I know that eye appeal wise, it should be pretty good, right? Secondly is with the autograph. Okay, so sure, I mean, often with just by eye appeal or by naked eye, you can tell like whether or not the autograph, whether or not it's kind of faded, or whether or not it has streaks, or whether or not the shape of the autograph is consistent with the usual signing by the athlete. And what I mean by that is sometimes, depending on where the athlete's signing the card, um, the autograph can look slightly different. Okay, I want to just raise an example, like for example with Gretzky cards. If you're asking the great one to sign, and he's getting off the rink and he probably still have gloves on and so forth, you'll find that it's a very sloppy autograph. And I've seen sloppy autographs of Wayne Gretzky that's been authenticated and graded, but eye appeal wise just doesn't look as good. And it may not even have streaks or whatever, but imagine trying to sign with a hockey glove on, right? It doesn't look good. So that's something that you need to look for, where it may not even affect the auto grade, but eye appeal wise, it may look different from the usual autographs that the athlete signs. So that's one thing. And then obviously, secondly, is what I just mentioned about the streaking and the condition on the autograph. Is it faded? Has it been scratched, etc.? Now, the other thing you may want to look for is the positioning of the autograph. Okay, so let's have a look at the Griffeys here. And I think both of these autos here, they look pretty good in terms of where the autograph is placed. I don't see another position where the autograph could have been placed, um, you know, as a better alternative option. Sure, some may say, well, it could be autographed here, and you can see more of the Griffey's body, but then that would also shrink the autograph, and you want the autograph to be slightly big and legible, right? Now, the other thing is, well, let's have a look at the other autographs here at the back too: the Edgar Martinez, the Nolan Ryan, and the Chipper Jones. Now, I'd say that the positioning of the autographs in these three cards look pretty good as well, especially with the Edgar Martinez. Now, the only thing I'd criticize is the color of the pen, and I would actually prefer the autograph where the Nolan Ryan autograph is at. And some people may prefer it on Nolan Ryan, like the Griffey here, but I think in this case, I would actually prefer it there. But the problem is that the background of that card is just so busy, and they used a dark marker, and so it doesn't pop as much. And so the color of the autograph is very important. And I've seen certain autographs where it's been signed with a black marker, but the background of the card is pretty dark, like the Griffey here or the Chipper Jones, or at least the upper part of the Chipper Jones. So, for example, with the Chipper Jones card, I actually may prefer the autograph slightly lower, where it would pop out a bit more. So that's another thing. Um, yeah, and what the athletes use to sign is kind of important. I think that it's not that big of a problem with the Shield cards, because most of the autographs I've seen with the Shield cards are with markers, right? And but once in a while, you will see a card being signed with a ballpoint pen. This is less likely, I think, especially with the signing of recent years. But ballpoint pen was something like probably in the vintage era was very popular, and that's why, like, for vintage collectors, they actually prefer ballpoint pen autographs over a marker. But I think with this set, it definitely looks better with a marker. And actually, I actually prefer like a slightly semi thinner ballpoint pen. Sorry, a marker, like the Edgar Martinez here. Just the autograph just looks a little bit more finer. Okay, so not too thick. The color of the marker, as I was saying, I do prefer like a metallic silver type of marker, because in most cases, unless the background's very bright, like the Edgar Martinez, the silver marker will pop a lot more. And so, like, whether I'd say with these two cards at least, because with the autograph on the Griffeys, if you're going to be placing the autograph on top of Griffey, the silver marker will not stand out as much. So it really depends on the card. Okay. Now, the last thing about the placement is you want to stay within the borders, because especially with this set, the cards have a very distinct border. And I've seen certain cards where the player has signed outside the border, or even like it's been cut off, right, from left to right, or just either one side of the autograph's been cut off. And that's not ideal. And people do try to avoid buying these cards. So, if you're getting these cards autographed, ask politely for them to stay within the border. Now, does the autograph card, and this is the last thing I want to talk about, is does the autograph card replace the base card in your set? Okay, in my opinion, it doesn't. Okay, so for example, although I said that this completes the All-Star run, in theory it does, because whether you consider an autograph a altered card or not, it's still an authentic card. And so, in theory, I have completed the All-Star run. However, I would like to, as I mentioned before, most of my cards are either in PSA 8 to 10. So, and they're not altered, obviously. So I would like to chase for a 9 or 10 at least, with these two Griffeys, so that I could, officially say my All-Star run is complete. Okay, and I do side with that school of thought that somehow an autograph card is an altered card, but I don't mean that in the sense that it devalues the card. I think that in theory, an autograph card should have greater value than the base card without an autograph. But if you're very specific towards how you collect, then you may consider that like an addition to the collection. And like me, you will want to chase for the base card without an autograph. So this is all I want to talk about today. A slightly shorter video. Hope you enjoyed it. I will make a video soon about the completion of the All-Star run, and I'll show you all my cards. So let me know what you think. Have you had any like weird experiences getting your autograph cards signed? I love hearing these stories, because there's a lot of stories on Reddit where people have got their cards signed and something weird happens between their interaction with the athlete and so forth. And you really see the character of the athlete, right? Because in the signing, they're very different from when they're on the field. And sometimes it's a very good experience. But I would love to hear from you. Let me know. Please like and subscribe this video. It really encourages me to make more videos about Desert Shield set, and because I really enjoy doing it as well. So I'd love to hear from you, and I'll talk to you guys soon. See ya.